Okay, this is the part we're going to make. And the way we're going to make this part is by creating 5 circles. The first circle will be at the origin, and then we're going to locate these 2 circles, which have a radius of 0.63. They have a distance of 1.38 from the center line, and we know the location of the bottom of the circles. The 2 circles up here will have a radius of 0.88, and we know exactly where the location of the center of those circles are. But it's 4.7 from the bottom of this circle and 2.2 over from the center line. So let's get started. I'm going to again assume that you have this drawing from the PDF that was handed out today. So I'm going to assume that you have the PDF that has this part that we handed out in class, and I'm just going to move this over here to my left-hand monitor. So I'm going to go ahead. I have a sketch already started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a center line. I'm going to make it infinite length and vertical. So that just gives me this line of symmetry that I'm going to utilize for my part. Now we can go ahead and create the center circle, and this has a diameter, or it's given to us rather as a radius of 0.88. We'll put it in as a diameter dimension, and we'll utilize the modified box as a calculator and type 2 times 0.88. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put 2 midpoint center lines in. So I'll go back to my line tool. I'll select center line. I will select midpoint and horizontal. I'll put one of those on the top. So we'll go back to our line tool. We'll again select horizontal for construction midpoint, and we'll put in our lower line. Okay, so let's go to the Smart Dimension tool. We can put in the horizontal dimension. So this is 2.2, and this is 1.38. And let's go in and put the circles in that we have. So we'll use the circle tool, and we will select these 4 points. And we can then select this circle and select that circle. We can put equal constraints between them. We can do the same thing up here. Select the circle, hold down the control key, and select the other circle and set those equal. We know that the radius of these circles will be 0.88, so we can again utilize the modified tool, and we type 2 times 0.88. And for these bottom circles, those have a radius of 0.63, so we can type in for their diameters as 2 times 0.63. Now to get the vertical dimensions, we need to actually create this bottom line. So we'll come over, utilize our line tool, we'll select the bottom quadrant and the bottom quadrant here. And that allows me now, because we know that we can move up and down, that this distance from this line to the center is 2.75. So we'll select the circle and the line and put in the dimension of 2.75. And now from this line to the center line of these circles, the distance is 4.7. So now we have the main structure of our part. We'll go ahead and put in these lines, and we'll select anywhere on this circle. And remember that usually the first point you select on a circle will allow you to be tangent, and then we'll come over here and drop on the second one. And if it didn't turn out to be tangent, we would have had to add the tangent constraint. I can now right click, go to sketch entities, select the line, do the same thing on this side. And in that case, I made a mistake. You see, I ended up selecting the quadrant point as coincidence. So I'm going to go in here and delete. Actually, you'll see it here as this horizontal constraint that's telling me that the endpoint of my line is horizontal to the center. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. That loosens up my line. And this would be a common mistake, so that's why I wanted to show it. I'll select the line, hold down my control key, select the circle, and make them tangent to each other. It would be a subtle mistake, but you'd have the wrong distances. Now, there's something else going on here. These two interior lines are going to be parallel to these. And then they're going to come up and there's going to be a perpendicular here that we need to deal with. So let's see how we do that. I'm going to select the line tool. I'm going to select anywhere on this circle. And I'm just not going to worry about, excuse me, even worrying about where I drop it or what the angle is. I'll just drop it over there. And I'll do the same thing over here. Again, I got rid of the line tool, so I'll go here, and this time I'll put a line segment in. I'll just click and hold and just drop. And now what I want to do is I want to put in parallel constraints here. So I'll select here and here, make those parallel, and select this line, hold down my control key, select this one, and again make those parallel. And now if you look on the drawing, there's a 90-degree line that's coming out here. So basically it means that there's a line that's going to go from this point to the circle, and then there's going to be a perpendicular constraint. So let me show you how to do that. Again, the trick here is to not worry about where you're putting it when you drop it. Then you will put on the sketch relations. So I'll select here and just select the circle. And I'll use the line tool and do the same thing over on this side. I don't even worry about dragging the thing down. So I now select this line and make them perpendicular. I'll select this line, that line, and make them perpendicular. But now I have one more thing to do. This line has to be tangent to this circle. So I'll select the line, select the circle, and make them tangent. And you'll see that that becomes fully defined. I now select this line and this circle, and again make them tangent. And we are done with the sketch. And you say, well, I want to trim things out so I can get the sketch to look like what it is in the drawing, but we don't need to, because the drawing says that we should extrude this to be 0.25 inches thick, and we have all the geometry we need. Now, is it wrong to trim out the geometry? Absolutely not, but it's unnecessary. So I'm going to go to Features, Extruded Boss. It's asking me to select the contours that I want, so I'm going to select the interior here, this circle, and then the interior of that, and this little corner, the interior of this circle, and that little corner, and make my dimension 0.25. I'll say OK. And there's the little plate that we need. Let's again look at it from the front, make sure that it has the shape that agrees with what we had seen in the drawing. So that's good. Now, if you had wanted to trim out the geometry, again, I said it's not wrong. I can right-click on my Boss Extrude. I can delete it again. Go back to my sketch and edit it. And I can go up here and utilize my trim tool and come in here and do things closely. I will drag across that circle, this point of the circle, and this up. And go back to the trim tool and select that and that. But now you see what happened. When I did the trim, now I've lost some critical geometry, and I'm going to have to go back and fix it. If I come over here and click on this point and drag it, see, I've lost all of that. So that's my reason for not using the trim tool, because you're just going to go ahead and start trimming, and then SOLIDWORKS will delete some sketch relation, and you're back to where you started from again. So if you did that, how do you get out of it? You hit Control-Z a couple times until you get your geometry back. All right, so that's making that part and giving you another reason not to utilize the trim tool. Let's just go ahead and check the Evaluate tab. If I wanted to select the front of the part, I could select the section properties, and that would give me the area and the centroid. So the area is 19.99 square inches. The centroid is, as you would expect, 0 in the x, 0.15, negative 0.15 inches in the y, which means it's down here somewhere, and 0.25 in the z direction because we've just selected the sketch surface itself. Now, to get the centroid of the entire part and the volume and the surface area, we would again utilize the mass properties tool. So the volume is 5 cubic inches. The surface area of the entire part now, which includes the front surface, the back surface, and all the side edges, is 46.46 square inches. And my centroid is 0 in the x, negative 0.15, and 0.13, which of course is the middle of the plate itself, since it has a thickness of 0.25. All right, let's head on to the next part in the next video.